Come with me on a spiritual journey and let me show you the Quran in all its wonders. Oh, we're not doing the whole voice nasheed thing? Okay. Have you ever heard Muslims say that the Quran is a literary miracle? Did you ever read the English translation and find a hard time understanding it? If you are a Muslim who needs an Iman boost, or a curious Christian who is genuinely interested in this topic and not a stick around till the end where I demonstrate the literary brilliance of the Quran while showing how miserably anyone who challenges the Quran fails.
You're a fool.
Now you all know how the Quranic challenge goes. Produce a chapter like the Quran.
In other words, the challenge is there, produce something like it. Muhammad did it, he copied it, come on man, you with your learning.
Yeah man, you with all the might of modern education and 21st century technology. What do you have to show us?
Show me what you got.
We're going to use ChatGPT to create its own surah and then compare it to an actual surah from the Quran. Can AI debunk one of Islam's biggest challenges?
Maybe. And maybe your parents are not your biological parents. Go and do a DNA test.
Buddy, listen here. I can't even get ChatGPT to write me a half-decent work email. You wanted to write you a chapter from a holy scripture? Look, I know the bar is pretty low for you and all, but hey, come on, man, that's uncalled for. That's just a low blow. It's uncalled for. You better watch yourself. Oh yeah? What are you gonna do about it? Now look, as civil as I intend to keep this, how can anyone expect me to respond with composure to such an amazingly stupid video? I was genuinely working on a much more important topic, and then this idiocy comes up.
Generate a new text based on the linguistic styling of the following quote. And here I'm just going to paste Surah 105. Well, there it is. ChatGPT has just produced what it believes is a surah-like text modeled after Surah 105. Premise 1. If Islam is true, then no one can reproduce a surah like we observe in the Quran. Premise 2. I can reproduce a surah like we observe in the Quran. Conclusion. Therefore, Islam is not true.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening!
Oh man, you know, he isn't even the first person to debunk Islam.
So this seems like the perfect time to debunk Islam again.
Oof! Meaning of the legends! Oof! Oof! When Muslim parents want their kids to go to bed, they tell him, go to sleep, or else these two legends will show up and force you to watch their videos. Well, with the debunking of Islam, I think we really need to reset our priorities. Wait, we bought this already? Can we still get a refund? There's no point having a mosque if there's no Islam left. Oi! Akalmando! Enough with your Twitter circus. No need to refute each other's deviancy anymore. We've all been refuted. Now, extreme sarcasm aside, I think I owe it to all of you viewers, Muslim and Christian and anyone else, as to why I'm not impressed with our boy's efforts over here. Firstly, he didn't even insert the Quran's words into ChatGPT. He inserted Mustafa Khattab's translation. The Quranic challenge applies to the original Arabic.
We don't know Arabic. We don't know Arabic. We don't know Arabic.
You know what? Let's continue entertaining our man right here and see where he goes.
And then finally, I'm going to put you guys to the test. I've generated several versions of a surah using AI, and it's actually going to be up to you to figure out which one of these is the real divinely inspired text.
Ooh, a test you say? Well, in the spirit of testing each other, I have a Bible test for the audience as well. I'm gonna give you 4 biblical gems for you to take home and teach to your kids. One of these stories is inspired by God, according to you, while the other 3 are inspired by me. But before we get to that, let's use this guy's poorly designed test as an opportunity to demonstrate the Quran's literary superiority and prove how even when you completely strawman the Quranic challenge, it still ends up defeating you.
Now it's time to put you, dear viewer, to the ultimate test. I've had AI recreate 4 versions of a very popular surah from the Quran. But here's the twist. Only one of these is the actual real surah directly from the Quran. The other three are completely AI generated. So here's the challenge. Can you guys actually tell which one of these is the real surah?
If you are a Muslim and you can't tell which one is the translation of the Quran, I think you seriously need to stop watching these videos and go learn some basics. For those who know though, you know it's this one. So what superior literature is going on here that we are unable to capture from the English alone?
So the Quran in English is a kind of shadow of itself.
And again, just to remind you, we will only be scratching the surface here. I am by no means an expert in Arabic. I don't even dress the part. There will be a lot of vocabulary and grammatical beauty of this surah that I will have to skip out on to keep everything as simple as possible for you all. So with my minimal skill set and research, let's get the original Arabic in front of us for this chapter. تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب سيصلى نارا ذات لهب وامرأته حمالة الحطب في جيدها حبل من مسد. Firstly, you can notice there's a rhyme scheme going on. Watab, kasab, lahab, al-hatab, which is not in the English. Now there's two important things to understand before we move on. Firstly is the beauty of the Quranic revelations. The beauty of the Quran is that we claim that every word and every letter is perfect, and no better word can be used as a replacement.
The fact that you and I could improve the Bible with very little thought, just by taking out, if we just took out the worst passages that have no possible redeemable content, the Bible's already improved.
So if you as a Christian believe what that joke of an intellectual says about your scripture, well, we don't believe that about the Quran at all. Secondly, the Quran encapsulates its context perfectly, and the more we learn about it, the more we uncover how each specific word was used for a purpose. And I will demonstrate that to you in this small chapter that this genius attempted to replicate. So, for some background, this surah is about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's uncle, Abu Lahab. The name Abu Lahab was not his real name, but a nickname. Lahab is basically a flame that flickers to give off a light that is red in texture to symbolize the beauty of the man, as well as his reddish complexion. Basically, Abu Lahab was a pretty good looking guy. He was also a very rich man, with the best lineage and the best tribe of his society. So when you have a rich and powerful guy with good looks, what do you get? Well, in this case, we got a really arrogant man in the form of Abu Lahab, and on two occasions, one in complete public view, while another in slightly less public view, he had cursed the Prophet Muhammad and the religion of Islam with the Arabic word tab. The first occasion, he says, Tabba li hadha ad-din, meaning, may this religion be destroyed, may it perish. On the second occasion, he said, Tabba lak, meaning, may you perish, may you be destroyed. So these were the two major incidents of Abu Lahab where he publicly insulted the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Islam with these words prior to this revelation. Now, when we read the first verse, we see Tabbat yada Abi Lahabin wa tab. If you heard it, the word tab is used twice to symbolize the two public occasions this curse was used. His hands are mentioned as a way of saying, may he perish, and may everything he does be destroyed. Basically, his legacy is gone. There's much more grammatical brilliance to point out in verb conjugations and tenses by using the word hands, but we can't get into all of that here without this video getting much longer. Now, his real name is not Abu Lahab, as I mentioned. It's Abdul Uzza. There's a reason Abu Lahab is specifically used here and not his real name, which we will get to in the later verses. But I mean, look, even for non-Arabic speakers, imagine replacing Abu Lahab with Abdul Uzza in Tabbat yada Abi Lahabin wa tab. The flow flow is disturbed and made awkward. Also, make sure you note down the pronunciation of Lahab. It's Abu Lahab, not
Abu Lahab.
Now, another interesting thing about the word dub that is used here is that dub does not mean immediate destruction. It means a slow, gradual decline to perish little by little, to rot. And for those of you who know how Abu Lahab died after these verses were revealed, you will know how aptly the word dub describes his death. Second verse, مَا أَغْنَى عَنْهُ مَالُهُ وَمَا كَسَبَ. Neither his wealth nor his worldly gains will benefit him. You may have noticed by now that for all these verses, one translation is giving a future tense while another is giving a past tense. The Arabic is in past tense but is referring to a future event, because in classical Arabic, when you want to refer to something that will happen with absolute certainty in the future, you use the past tense, because the past has absolutely happened, showcasing that this event will happen with so much assurance that you can assume it already happened. Now, the verse is directly taking aim at the wealth of Abu Lahab, inherited wealth as well as whatever he has earned from his hands mentioned earlier. Nothing is of benefit. This is important because wealth, just like in any society, is a big indicator of not only success, but getting you out of trouble. Yet Allah here is saying that his wealth cannot save him at all, regardless of what he already has, or what his hands will earn him moving forward, bringing a direct correlation to his impending downfall highlighted in the previous verse. There are correlating themes going on here in the span of a few words. Ayah 3. سَيَصْلَى نَارًا ذَاتَ لَهَبٍ. He will burn in a flaming fire. There's a bunch of things going on here. Firstly, the tense of this ayah switches to future, but not a distant future, but something that will happen soon. This is indicated by the word sayasla, particularly just through the use of sa in sayasla. Why? Because when the chapter was revealed, Abu Lahab's demise in this world was predicted to happen very soon. Abu Lahab's punishment in the next life, as mentioned in this verse, is referring to after the day of judgment, which will be in a far more distant future. So why is the wording indicating it will happen soon, though, as captured by some of these other translations? It's because even if the day of judgment is far away from a human perspective, Allah says elsewhere in the Quran that you see the day of judgment as far off, but we see it as near. The preciseness of every letter is apparent here. Now, سَيَصْلَى نَارًا ذَاتَ لَهَبٍ. Soon he will burn in a flaming fire. But I want you to notice the last word of this ayah, lahab. Where have we heard this before? Well, yeah, of course. It's in the first verse we read, because it is the nickname of the Prophet's uncle. Remember what we mentioned about his name, the flickering flame, as a sign of beauty for his reddish complexion? Well, now the Quran has redefined and reattributed the word lahab from a sign of beauty because of his reddish complexion to a description of the flames that will engulf him in his punishment. You like to be called Abu Lahab for your beauty? Now you will be known as Abu Lahab for being thrown into the flames of hell. His symbol of pride has now flipped on its head and has been turned into a symbol of his punishment. وَامْرَأَتُهُ حَمَّالَةَ الْحَطَبِ. So along with Abu Lahab being thrown in the blazing, flickering fire, so will his wife, the carrier of firewood. Now, what's going on here? Starting with the first word, the typical Arabic word for wife would be zawj. The word used here is imra'a. What's the difference? Zawj defines a relationship that completes two essential goals of marriage: harmony and kids. The Quran uses the word zawj to describe relationships that fulfill the two criteria and uses the word imra'a to describe relationships that don't. So, for example, in the case of Zakaria alayhi salam and his wife, or Zachariah for the non-Muslims listening, Zakaria alayhi salam refers to his wife as imra'a when she did not have Yahya, or John, the cousin of Jesus for the non-Muslims. When she did conceive Yahya alayhi salam, she was then referred to as zawj. Now we know Abu Lahab and his wife had kids, but when it comes to harmony, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this term to show that they didn't possess the harmony that would dignify their relationship with the term zawj. Both spouses were arrogant, considered rich and beautiful in their society like a celebrity couple, and had extreme animosity against Islam. So while in English you're just seeing the translation showing his wife, there is actually much more going on with the use of the word. Hammalat al-hatab, the carrier of firewood. What's going on here? We know from history that the wife of Abu Lahab would throw thorns outside Prophet Muhammad's door. So this is the description given to her. But there's another thing going on here as well. She's not just described as such for her activity, because if this were a rare occurrence, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have used hamilat al-hatab to describe a carrier of firewoods, as opposed to hammalat al-hatab. Hammalat al-hatab means this is done continuously like a profession. The slave woman of the time who would be tasked with carrying firewood around would be known as Hammalat al-Hatab. The wife of Abu Lahab would consider this an incredible insult if anyone would call her that, given her prideful nature, high status, and arrogant outlook on society. The phrase Hammalat al-Hatab can also refer to a gossiper idiomatically, as mentioned in the second translation, and as a member of high society, the wife of Abu Lahab was known for that. So essentially, you have a 3-in-1 diss happening with the phrase Hammalat al-Hatab. And notice how the rhyme scheme is still maintained throughout all this. Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab, ma aghna anhu maluhu wa ma kasab, sayasla naran dhat lahab, wa imra'atuhu hammalat al-hatab. Now the 5th ayah. في جيدها حبل من مسد. Abu Lahab's high society wife was known for wearing expensive jewelry, especially an expensive necklace. Now the regular word for neck in Arabic would normally not be the word used here, because jeed means a neck adorned with ornaments. So when one would use jeed, they would think this, but now they will think this. This chapter put the arrogant in their place. Every word has a purpose and is there for a reason. For more information on this, please watch this video where I got most of my info from. Again, I have only scratched the surface here. But if you're not intelligent enough to even scratch the surface, I suggest you humble yourself rather than live like an intellectual peasant. Speaking of intellectual peasants, let's take a look at our boys' recreation of this surah. Let's see what chatgpt has come up with. But before that, you all watch the videos, but don't subscribe. Hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying so far. Alright, let's start reading version 1. May the scrolls of Abu Tariqul... What? Who's Tariqul? Oi! ChatGPT! Did you just transition Abu Lahab into a Bengali? For those who don't know, Bangladeshis usually add ul in front of their names. Ashraful, Samiul, Shafiul, Raqibul, Shaqibul. Sorry, I'm just listing their whole cricket team out here. Okay, man, so what? Let's give Bengali Abu Lahab a chance. May the scrolls of Abu Tariqul crumble, and woe to the followers. Neither their chants nor golden idols will aid them. These just sound like random nonsense words being strewn together. So apparently Brother Tariqul has followers and chants and golden idols. What is the relation between these? They shall stumble in the deserts. Oh, Brother Tariqul, make sure you put some sunscreen on while you stumble in the desert with your followers. I mean, seriously, what a weird threat. Alright. They shall stumble in the deserts, and so shall their priestess? Okay, I guess we have a priestess joining in. Bearer of the false relic, with a chain of rusted brass around her waist. What does that even mean? Is Hasina buying one of those weird belt machines to help her lose weight? The hell's going on with Tariqul Bhai over here stumbling in the desert? Did he apply for a work visa to Saudi and his kafil stole his passport or something? Hey, Amar Bengali Bhai Bon, আমি কিছুই বুঝতে পারি না আমাকে সবকিছু এক্সপ্লেন করো কমেন্টসে ইংলিশে কারণ আমি আর বাকি সব অডিয়েন্স বাংলা পড়তে পারি না Don't worry guys, our Bangladeshi brothers and sisters will explain the hidden secret behind Tariqul because I have absolutely no clue what the heck is going on here. Moving on to version 3. I'll be honest, I don't really have the stamina to put the same science behind this one as I tried with version 1. May the hands of Abu Qasimun... What is this, man? Is this like the plural of Qasim? I don't know. Is that how Arabic works? Is this guy the father of every living guy named Qasim? He must have a lot of kids. May the hands of Abu Qasimun falter, and woe to his wife. I mean, which one? Neither their sacred scrolls nor whispered secrets will aid them?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
How are sacred scrolls supposed to protect your wife? Whispered secrets? I mean, yeah, I guess if you have so many kids, you're bound to have a bunch of whispered secrets. I just don't see how whispering a secret can save you from... Wait, what's the punishment here? He shall be cast into the depths of the abyssal flame. Okay! Definitely much scarier than stumbling in the deserts. And so will Lyra, the keeper of the cursed ember. Who the heck is Lyra? Wait, the Turkish Lyra? How does that make any... Oh wait, I think I get it. See, this Abu Qasimun guy uses the Turkish lira to buy this cursed ember or whatever. See, it all ties together. Because Abu Qasimun uses Turkish lira, this means he must be making frequent trips to Turkey, which means he must have a Turkish wife. Oi, Turkey Abu Qasimun! Good on ya, man! That explains the whispered secrets too. Probably hiding his Turkish wife from the rest of them. Oh man, I'm so glad I figured this out. Alright, let's close the loop on this. This one's a win for us. The Turkish lira, the keeper of the cursed ember, will have a chain of molten iron around her neck. Maybe it's talking about Ataturk, man. I don't know. Alright, version 4. I'm sure it can't be worse than the others.
You know, can I do one more? Let me just do one more, dog. I absolutely promise you that this song is not racist, and it's impossible for you to misinterpret it as such.
Okay, it seems like you're about to sing the most racist song so far.
I'm not.
May the hands of Abe Haldiram kahan se aa gaya? Sorry, I think like nobody got that. I'm just so tired of going through all of these. May the hands of Hagiram serial kisser perish, and he himself be undone. I mean, you'd probably be better off perishing his lips, to be honest. Neither his altars nor his sacred coins will save him. Oh my god! Extreme profoundness by ChatGPT here. It knows that the safest place for a serial kissing sexual harasser is the church altar. Man, what a start to this chapter! He will be cast into the abyss of shadows. I mean, isn't that like the last place you'd want to send a serial kisser? Sounds like a place he would thrive in. He will be cast into the abyss of shadows. And so will his wife? This guy got married? Arranged marriage Zindabad, and so will his wife, the keeper of the false flame, whatever the hell that means, with a crown of stones upon her head. Now look, you get the point. These ChatGPT knockoffs just took the translation and switched up the words, but they end up making no sense. Now you might think that, oh, that's because Genius over here only inserted the English translation. Had he put in the same prompt in ChatGPT, but inserted the actual Arabic surah, then there you go! Checkmate, Muslims! No. It won't work. You might even get the rhyme scheme by plagiarizing the Arabic, but it will still not make sense, because ChatGPT doesn't create new forms of writing. It feeds off of data that is available. Never mind the Quran, it can't even create a new style of poetry. Don't believe me? Ask it yourself. The Quran is an ultimate miracle far above just mere poetry. Many classical Arab poets of the time have created knockoffs of the Quran, and they all failed miserably and made no sense. But that's a video for another time. You can watch this video, which somewhat covers portions of how much of a miracle the Quran is. But before we call it a day on this video, we need to address some very high IQ people in the comments section who read all 4 texts. Now see, we actually read them, dissected them, analyzed them, and put some thought into this. These geniuses, though, operate on such a high level that they don't need to put any thought into anything at all. So let's look at these geniuses right here. Number 2 struck me as clearly inferior when the ChatGPT quote is better than the Quran verse it's based on. My guess is number 2 because it's the one that sounds the silliest. It sounds as if a child was angry at another child in school and wrote it up. So see, for these geniuses, I actually have a unique test for them. And this is only for the high IQ Christians, by the way. Not the low IQ Christians like the ones in the comments saying that our boy made a completely stupid video. What do these low IQ people know? Please do not ruin my test I am about to present with your low IQs. These are only for our high IQ superstars. So, my high IQ friends, given we know how smart you are, I'm gonna give you 4 biblical gems for you to take home and teach your kids. One of these stories is inspired by God, according to you, while the other 3 are inspired by me. Now, I could have used ChatGPT for this, but, you know, I'm just more entertaining, aren't I? So let's get started. Story number 1. God commands his chosen prophet to strip completely and remain unclothed for 3 years. Story number 2. A prophet of God kills 200 innocent males and circumcises them so he can present 200 foreskins to the king in order to marry his daughter. Story number 3. A woman knowingly seduces her father-in-law and sleeps with him while the father-in-law thinks she's a prostitute, causing her to bear his children. Story number 4. Several people resurrected 3 days before God resurrected. Think long and hard on this one. Which one out of these is actually in the Bible? Well, if you guessed it already, you're right. It's all of them. So I really hope the high IQ people enjoyed that test.
And always remember, Christianity is true.
Yeah, truly misguided. Now look, you all watch the videos, but you forget to hit the subscribe button. So why don't you go out there and hit the subscribe button? I hope you all enjoyed the video and had lots to learn.